Are you ready, yo?
Like you're ready, yo, we need you to tune in.
I had two parents addicted to drugs, not just one. I didn't get to experience the crackhead daddy with the strong mama. No. Both of my parents were drug addicts. I was actually born high. I was like literally 80s baby, crack baby, all that.
I know your secret. I know your lies.
3 years old, almost OD'd. Like, I literally flatlined because I OD'd on drugs and shit that they left out. So, my mom tells a story and she says how in the hospital they really had to shock me because my heart literally flatlined. Like, I was out of here for like a minute or two. And that's at 3. They were actually into it heavy, like real heavy. At that time, when they was at their heaviest, I was the youngest sibling. I had 2 older siblings. My aunts and all them, they all used to get high as a unit. So my cousins and all of us, we was pretty much raised like brothers and sisters. They just used to leave us with anybody so they can go get their fix, go get their high. When you got drug addicted parents, they really don't care about nothing. The only thing they care about is waking up, getting to that fix. Like, I remember when we used to live on Haywood, it was a corner house, and right across the street it was an alley. And at this time my dad was incarcerated, but I'll never forget my mom walking over there to the alley because that's when they did their little 5 a.m. lineup. You know, when all the junkies just be in the line waiting to get served or whatever. And she took me with her, and I went over there while she got what she got. Then we went back home. We're in the house. She got high. Like, she would never do it. My parents would never do it in front of us. But, like, we was getting to the, like, we know how to put 1 + 1 together, 2 and 2 together. Like, we not dumb. We know what that shit mean. So, you know, she would go in the bathroom, and then after that just be out of it. Just, like, drooling and shit, head nodding. That's the shit that I had to witness. I mean, at such a young age, and eventually, like, living like that, being crowded on top of each other, we jumping from school to school. I don't know how many houses we lived in up and down Park Heights. Like, it was never stability, ever. Like, it was never stability. And it got to the point, and it got so bad to where as though one of my grandparents called CPS. And the day CPS came, it was a school day. We all laying in there chilling. Like, wasn't nobody waking up to go to school. So they raid the house. They find what they find in there. I actually don't even think we had electricity at that time, because I remember them asking, well, how are they in here eating? Like, how y'all feeding them? So whatever the case was, I had to go to school. They wasn't really like telling me everything. So what happened was, when CPS came to our house, they actually took my baby sister for some reason. To this day, I don't know. My grandmother came to pick me up from school. That was the last day that I saw my father for 8 years, because he violated his parole from whatever they found in the house. I guess like the drugs and stuff like that. And my mother, she was still out here. Like, I still ain't see her for like a good year or 2 after that. It was always you know how like guys be waiting for their father who make promises and he say, I'm gonna come pick you up, and never come. Like, that's what my mother was doing for a while, and then she just went missing. Like, and that's when they basically told us that we gotta live with them now. And then that's when I found out that my parents had signed over their parental rights. And that's the part that messed me up, because at the end of the day, I really didn't know what was going on at 8 or 9 years old, but I knew signing over your parental rights just ain't cool. So, like, I was upset. Like, I'm like, my parents don't want me. Like, it really made me feel some type of way because I didn't want to live there. Like, that was out of my comfort zone. What I was born into is what was comfortable to me. The way we was living with my mother and father, even though it was dysfunctional and it was toxic, that I didn't know no better because that's how I was raised. Like, sometimes being hungry, sometimes being dirty, like no lights, no food. That's just what I was used to. So making that transition, it was a little bit hard for me. Like, it was awkward. I really didn't know how to interpret it. I know that I felt angry when they told me that my parents signed over their rights, because we really had to go through a whole adoption. And the whole thing, I'm like, I don't want to be adopted. Like, y'all not my parents. And it just didn't make sense to me of why we had to do that. And so many times I asked, like, well, what's going to happen? My grandparents will always say, if you don't tell them that you agree to getting adopted, then you're going to have to go to a foster home. You're going to have to go to a shelter. So, of course, I'm going to say yes. And it's like, that's one thing I just always hated, y'all. Like, I thought that was embarrassing. I was, like, ashamed. I never really talked to my friends about my personal life or my personal business. Even as a kid, like, I kept that hidden. I really didn't have nobody to talk to either in the process of going through this in my life, because it's like, who I'm going to talk to? All of us, my older sisters and brothers, we was divided. We was split up. My father was in jail. Didn't know where my mother was. So I just had to, like, deal with it. And even over the course of the years, we finally started going to see my dad. And it's like, he would ask us, are we okay? And so many times I wanted to say no, but how could I say no with his parents sitting right there? Like, that used to be hard. Like, I used to really sometimes just sit there when we was in jail visiting him with tears in my eyes, because I just used to be like, want him to come home. Like, just, it was so much that I didn't understand. Nobody really sat down and took the time to explain it to me. So I was a confused little girl, like, really not knowing how to channel all of this, or channel my emotions, channel my feelings. Like, so many times I just used to cry a lot to myself in my room, just cry, because I just didn't like how I was living. I preferred living how I was living before CPS came than to be somewhere where I didn't want to be.
Yeah.
Like, I ride past it so many times, but to be standing out here is just like, it's weird. It's eerie. It brings back so many feelings. It brings back so many memories. But I mean, as a 30-year-old compared to an 8-year-old, I now can say that I'm grateful for the things that happened, because I'm old enough to understand. But when you don't understand and you don't have nobody to help you understand, what can you do? But being right here, I really went through a lot more than I knew. And you don't never know until you really start trying to relive those experiences. So being right here is just like, I don't know no other way to explain it, but wow. Just wow. At one point in time during that phase, I had a little bit of resentment to my mother, because I used to be like, where are you at? Like, come fucking save me. But not knowing, while she was trying to work on her, it was really my grandparents that was kind of keeping us away from her. She reached out to them a couple times and they shut it down, because they just always claimed they wanted to wait until my father came home, then we can figure out what we're going to do and all this and all that. So again, being young, not understanding, like, I just was mad at everybody. Like, I became mad at everybody. I just was like reckless. So when he first came home, I was like already set in my ways a little bit. And he came home and got straight to business. Like, all right, I want my kids, I want this, I want that. And he knew I was being rebellious while he was locked up. So he used to pull me up all the time because my grandparents was like, she being disrespectful, she doing this, she doing that. And he used to try, you know, like, not discipline me, but just put me in my place. And for a long time, I still used to look at him like, who the fuck is you? Like, you've been gone all this time. Now you want to come back and just tell me what the fuck to do? Like, it don't work like that. Like, I just felt like I was already set in my ways, but he never let up. And eventually I was like, I'm going to give this man a chance. I just need to forgive him. You know, it's not his fault, because at the same time, I did miss it, and I did miss having that father figure, because that's what I was yearning for the whole entire time that he was gone. So, I started giving him a chance, and, you know, we started building our relationship. I started getting myself together around that time. And out of everything that I've been through in my life, losing my father permanently was the worst ever. Like, ever. Because I'm a daddy's girl. And like I explained, like, even through his addiction and him being away in jail, he always still tried to be the best father that he could be. Even when he was in jail, we never not talked or whatever. It just was me being me, like me being rebellious. He always fought for us and fought to make sure we know who he was even when he wasn't here. So losing that shit broke me. Like, it literally broke me. That was probably the worst time of my life. Like, I just didn't know who I was anymore. I'm so used to having him, having my go-to person. I talked to him about everything. He talked to me about everything. Like, that was just our relationship. And because it was so random, that's the part that hurt the most. Is because it's like, how you go from just talking to me the day before about getting my kids on the weekend, and then you just gone the next day. I feel like with him being in jail, then with him, the times he had getting high, I don't feel like I had enough time of him being him, like his best person. Like he had. I take their mistakes as my lesson to make me be a better parent to my kids. I use what they went through and what I went through as motivation. More so, I never ever use my trauma as an excuse.
'Cause I know